SUNY students come home to help in the search for Karen Wilson.
And as the Northeast stays cool this Easter Sunday, Southern California goes over 100 degrees.
And a living tribute to a local co-ed killed in Florida. Action News Nightside is next.
From the great Northeast, WTEN presents TV10 Action News.
Good evening, I'm Greg Floyd. New Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev says he wants to hold a summit with President Reagan. He has also announced a decision to halt deployment of medium-range missiles aimed at Western Europe. Walter Rogers has the story from Moscow, where the announcement was made on Soviet television.
It's never been disclosed here that President Reagan first initiated the summit, although Gorbachev, in an interview with the Soviet Communist Party newspaper Pravda, acknowledged he has been corresponding with Mr. Reagan, and he was quoted as saying an improvement in Soviet-American relations is extremely necessary. The new Soviet leader offered no clue, however, as to any date nor location for the summit. In that same Pravda interview, Gorbachev also launched a new disarmament initiative, announcing he's ordered a unilateral halt to the deployment of Soviet medium-range missiles in Europe, and he challenged the United States to match that with a freeze on deployment of Pershing and cruise missiles for NATO. Gorbachev said the Soviet unilateral freeze will last till November. The new Soviet leader has been in office less than a month now, but his quick decision to meet with President Reagan, coupled with the announcement that he's freezing deployment of Soviet medium-range missiles in Europe, appears to confirm everyone's earlier suspicions about Gorbachev's decisiveness and tough character. Walter Rogers, ABC News, Moscow.
The White House says if the Soviets want to freeze their deployment of nuclear missiles, fine, but don't expect anything in return. A spokesman says the offer just isn't enough, so the deployment of new NATO missiles in Europe will go on as scheduled. A 13-member congressional delegation led by House Speaker Tip O'Neill arrived in Moscow today for a 5-day visit. O'Neill hopes to sit down with Gorbachev on Wednesday. Students at SUNY Albany are returning to campus tonight after a week-long vacation, but the usually high spirits of co-eds looking toward the last weeks of classes are dampened with the reminders that one of their own, Karen Wilson, has vanished. Kathy Gazda was at the State University campus this evening and filed this report.
Posters with Karen Wilson's picture and description hang in virtually every hallway of every dorm and classroom on the SUNY campus, with pleas to returning students for help. This morning, search crews combed the area near Fuller Road and 6 Mile Waterworks where Karen was last spotted, but came up empty-handed, as did mounted police patrols used earlier in the weekend. Those who knew Karen left for vacation on the 29th, concerned for their friend, hoping and praying word of her safety would come upon their return to Albany.
You went home and you try to relax, and I tried to maintain some contact with the people that were up here and the goings-on around here, and it's tough. Friend of yours is missing. What can you say about that?
Ellen Yoon, who lives down the hall from Karen, echoed the feelings of family and other friends who say the attractive, intelligent 22-year-old senior would not have intentionally gone off without a word.
She was very outgoing, happy, very friendly, and I don't think she was a person that would just go out and not tell anyone where she was going or just take off like that.
Karen's parents, Jenny and Raymond Taylor, spent the week here at the Colonial Quad in Karen's dorm room, hoping and praying for a phone call of good news about their daughter. But the news did not come, and the Wilsons left campus, deciding to take up one of the numerous offers they received to spend Easter with one of Karen's friends. Now the family must decide whether to return to their Plattsburgh home or continue their stay here in the Capital District and await word of their daughter. Kathy Gazda, TV10 Action News in Albany.
The uncertainty is over for a Poughkeepsie family. The Vaccaros learned this weekend daughter Kim, a 20-year-old student at Buffalo State, was beaten to death in Florida. Her body and that of her roommate dumped in a Tampa river. Pauline was in Poughkeepsie today, where Kim was remembered.
It was a family reunion, but the Easter Sunday gathering for this Poughkeepsie family was one full of sorrow, mourning the loss of 20-year-old Kim Vaccaro, one of 2 Buffalo State co-eds, bludgeoned to death while hitchhiking through Florida during spring break. The other 20-year-old Lisa Eisman of Rochester had been Kim's college roommate. The Vaccaros described Kim, one of 8 children, as a pleasant person with a love for life. During the summer, she would work at the checkout counter here at the local Grand Union and also at a nearby hospital as a secretary. John Vaccaro, who declined to be interviewed on camera, told me that his daughter had worked out her Florida trip several weeks in advance. but had never mentioned plans to hitchhike, telling he and his wife only that she planned to go by car, apparently in an effort to keep them from worrying. Residents say that it's not unusual for kids to be seen thumbing their way to and from school along this, the town's main drag. But the idea of Kim Vaccaro hitchhiking her way all the way to Florida is something that's totally out of character.
For Kim, well, she was probably low on funds, which, you know, all college kids are, so it was probably easier to hitchhike.
But according to friends from Buffalo State who'd arrived in Florida, the two young women had been set on hitching in spite of repeated warnings.
Because they had made plans and told people, and everyone advised them not to, so they said they weren't going to do it when actually they still planned on doing it all along.
Meanwhile, a newly planted tree stands in the Vaccaro's backyard, dedicated in Kim's memory. It will bear white flowers, say family members, and be pretty, just as Kim was. Pauline, TV10 Action News, Poughkeepsie.
The investigation into a fatal fire in Stormville, Dutchess County continues tonight. State police in Fishkill say a 31-year-old man was killed in the blaze at the Mount Storm Ski Center on Stormville Mountain. William Sherman, the son of the center's owner, was found in a bedroom shortly after he reported the fire.
Fire department arrived on the scene a short time later, located the body of the deceased near the rear bedroom. At that time, he was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival.
Authorities say there was no sign of foul play or arson. An accident on Interstate 90 in Albany early this morning has left an Albany man dead. The victim, 51-year-old Nathaniel Dean of 3rd Avenue, was walking across I-90 when he apparently stopped in the middle of the westbound lane near the state office campus and was struck by a car. The driver was not charged. Well, just ahead on Action News Nightside, Greg Playford's forecast and Pope John Paul's Easter message. Right now, though, let's check the winning New York State lottery numbers. The daily number is 250 and the win 4 number 5610. We'll be right back. And a happy Easter to you, Mr. Playford.
Thank you, thank you.
Do we have some happy weather to look forward
Well,
to?
before we go into that, I want you to know that two gentlemen called, Gene and Bob from Harwichport down at Cape Cod, near Cranberry Valley, good golf course, very upset that you don't like chocolate Easter bunnies.
I'm sure, yeah. The phone lines were flooded.
They were very upset. They're up here for their family annual Easter egg hunt. Okay. They just wanted to know they're very upset.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, well, at least one phone call. And anyway, cloudy skies outside, Greg, at 11 o'clock, temperature 42 degrees, relative humidity 47%, barometer falling now. 29.93. There's a storm to our south. The wind's light out of the north, 7 miles an hour. High temperature today, 54 during the afternoon. The low is our current temperature of 42. And indeed, Easter to you and yours around the Capital District. Again, there's that chocolate Easter bunny. That's my favorite. Greg Floyd doesn't like them, but it's my favorite anyway. Temperatures around the state and the region, 42 in Albany and Troy, 41 Schenectady, 38 in Bennington, and 40 degrees even in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Clear skies and cooler temperatures in the northern parts of the state. Watertown with 33, Messina with 36. But everything south, let's say the Adirondacks, even down into New Jersey, lots of clouds, a lot of moisture down there. Radar picking that up. This is 10 o'clock radar centered on New York City. An area of low pressure has formed on the coast as we had expected. So you can see some pretty good intensity. The orange indicating some pretty heavy thunderstorms. Radar activity and motion is picking up to the northeast at 10 miles an hour. So it looks like the area of moderate rain showers just past south of the Capital District as that low moves towards the northeast. Looks like Cape Cod's going to get a little bit damp. This is the satellite photograph centered on Albany, New York. Clear skies basically in the northern parts of the state up into southeastern Canada, but a lot of cloudiness down the mid-Atlantic coast. There's an area of low pressure, as I said, has formed. Motion of that system is going to be to the northeast. So while clear skies are in the western and northern parts of the state, we're going to stay in some clouds, and indeed there is some precipitation with that system. Some of the higher terrain in the Catskills and also in Pennsylvania are getting snow at this time. Satellite map picks up a lot of moisture coming in off the western part of the Gulf under Texas, having good thunder shower, rain shower activity there. Let's expand it for you a little bit and show you that cloud cover. Western part of the country, very beautiful weather, very warm temperatures also. I'll show you that on the max map. We have to worry about, again, this small area of low pressure. It's going to be moving off. I don't think we'll see any intensity or any accumulation of precipitation here in the Capital District. Lower Hudson Valley and higher terrain in Pennsylvania may get a little wet snow, but a strong ridge of high pressure has developed from south central Canada down into the center part of the Plain States. Everything east of that will stay into northwesterly and northerly winds for at least 2 to 3 days, so our temperatures are going to be on the cool side. But on the opposite side of the coin, Very warm temperatures moving into California. Max temperature down in Palm Springs was 98. In Needles, they had 101 degrees, so very warm temperatures. National radar is picking up a lot of moisture, in the eastern part of the country associated with that area of low pressure, but it is moving towards the east. Very warm temperatures out west. It's very cool to the east of that ridge of high pressure, and these cool temperatures will stay with us for about 2 or 3 more days. Here's the forecast for the remainder of our evening. Our skies will stay cloudy. Light rain and a scattering of snow showers later on this evening towards morning. Look for lows about 35 degrees. For tomorrow, clouds and a few flurries early in the day, then some sunshine in the afternoon, still on the cool side, highs about 45. For Tuesday, partly sunny skies, but still on the cool side, highs only in the low 40s. Southern Mountain Berkshires, cloudy with some scattering of light rain and then snow showers, lows in the mid-30s. For tomorrow, Greg, some clouds in the early part of the day, some afternoon sunshine, highs 40 to 45. And I won't pick on you anymore, even if you don't like chocolate Easter bunnies.
Okay, thanks for that, Greg. New York's Fifth Avenue turned into something of a giant fashion runway today as thousands of people, including Mayor Edward Koch, marched down the street in the city's traditional Easter parade. Many other cities also staged Easter parades today, but the Big Apple's was the biggest. For the most part, it was a much more somber occasion in Rome today, where Pope John Paul evoked memories of the pain of World War II as he delivered his annual Easter message. David Enzor reports.
250,000 worshipers gathered in St. Peter's Square to celebrate Easter Mass with Pope John Paul. It is the day Christians believe Christ rose from the dead, a joyous occasion fit for music and pageantry. But the Pope's Easter message was sometimes somber in tone. 40 years after the end of World War II, John Paul said, mankind still has not learned its lessons. There still are war, hunger, torture, and an arms race. There still are those preaching hatred. In the square were thousands holding blue balloons as a demonstration against world famine. The Pope's native Poland was invaded by Germany at the start of World War II. Today he praised that fight against Hitler, calling it a just war. And he paid tribute to the Jews who died in the Nazi Holocaust. The Church is for the fundamental human rights of man, he said. Peace is born in the human heart. There were people from all over the world at St. Peter's today, and it's become a tradition for this Pope to give his blessing in many languages, 47 this year.
A blessed Easter in the joy of Jesus Christ, the risen Lord and Savior of the world.
The service was broadcast on television in 40 countries, according to the Vatican. But in this city, those who didn't go to the square could hear Easter celebrated anyway, by St. Peter's great bells. David Enzor, ABC News, Rome.
Here at home, Albany Bishop Howard Hubbard celebrated Mass at the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. In a service broadcast live here on Channel 10 this morning, the bishop reminded worshipers of the true meaning of Easter.
Faith in the resurrection does not alleviate our financial problems, nor does it assure us of success in business or freedom from illness. Belief that Jesus is alive does not automatically bring peace and justice to our earth, nor does it guarantee that others will love us and accept us. But it does provide a mindset, a framework within which we can place life's harsh realities into proper perspective.
As they have each of the past 15 years, members of the Blooming Grove Reformed Church gathered into Freestville early this morning for an Easter sunrise service. This service, which began promptly at 5:28 a.m., was held on a hilltop 600 feet above the Bauer Farm. Nowhere was the holiday spirit more evident than at an Albany soup kitchen today. Dozens of people who might otherwise have gone hungry were treated to an Easter feast at the Methodist Society on Clinton Avenue. This bustling, home-like kitchen activity will be a regular scene at the Clinton Avenue Methodist Society. Sunday dinners will be served here every week, starting with this Easter feast.
This is the first week that we've opened it up to the public, but there have been several of us that have been actually working in the kitchen over at the shelter over here, serving some lunches for the last couple of months. But we decided to go beyond just the immediate shelter and then open it up as a general soup kitchen because there are a number of shelters in the Albany area, and there's been no one facility that's been serving Sunday lunch. So this is going to be open to all the people who are in the shelters all over the city.
People lined up early for generous portions of turkey stuffing and all the trimmings. There were plenty of helping hands and plenty of thanks.
I'm really, really enjoying this. This is beautiful. I like it. Nice dinner.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, though, because I'd rather be with my family. How's the food? Terrific.
It's very good.
We appreciate it.
Oh, golly, I haven't even totaled up the bills. It's probably over $100. We figure it's less than $2 a person when it's all totaled up.
While soup and sandwiches will be the usual Sunday fare, the Methodist Society Soup Kitchen also offers a little bit of home to people forced to live in shelters, and to the poor and elderly, a place where they are not forgotten. This was no holiday in Lebanon. Christian Radio reports 2 people were killed and 8 others wounded by snipers and a mortar blast in East Beirut. 12 people were wounded during fighting around the southern port of Sidon. The Senate voted earlier this week to do something about the trade deficit with Japan, namely asked President Reagan to enforce current trade laws. New York Senator Daniel Moynihan agrees that something must be done, but he adds the U.S. must not be too quick in shifting blame to Japan for the trade difficulties.
We have a trade deficit with Canada, which on a per capita basis is twice that with Japan. The dollar's up, the dollar may go roaring down. Both would be a problem. It's here that we should be paying our first attention. What we've done in the Senate is a good signal, but let's come back home.
Moynihan says Japan should help the United States, but our attention should also turn to the very real problem of Mexico buying cheaper wheat from China and Argentina providing less expensive wheat to the U.S. than our own Iowa farmers. Moynihan made his comments on ABC's This Week with David Brinkley. Well, just ahead on Action News Nightside, Ed O'Brien on sports with a look at a soaring bird and an amazing magician. Stay with us. I guess you could say there's some good news and bad news in the local hockey scene.
I guess you could. I don't know how accurate that is.
All right, well, you'll
no,
tell
I'm
us.
only kidding. All right, first of all, Greg, last night we told you that Mike Gazda, the RPI hockey coach, may be a candidate for the vacant coaching position at the University of Minnesota, but that Herb Brooks has the inside track on the job. Well, tonight, Brooks, who has coached at Minnesota before, says he's intrigued with the proposition of returning to the school that he left to coach the Olympic gold medal team back in 1980. He has been out of work, of course, since the Rangers fired him in January. On the pro ice, meanwhile, the Adirondack Red Wings, for the first time in their history, have failed to qualify for the American Hockey League playoffs. The Wings gave it a great shot in the closing stages of the season, but tonight both Nova Scotia and Sherbrooke were winners. Both of those teams leapfrogged past Adirondack to nail down the final 2 playoff positions. The Rangers, of course, are in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but don't expect them to be around for too long. They're in the process of season to that. In fact, the game is just over. The Blackhawks burned them for a pair of first-period goals just 12 seconds apart. And the final score in this game, Chicago beats the Rangers. The count is 3-1. Elsewhere in the NHL tonight, it was the Bruins surging towards the playoffs now, 5-1 over the Leafs. Montreal down Buffalo 5-4. Elsewhere, it was Quebec over Hartford 4-1. Lots of fights there. And Philadelphia down New Jersey 6-1. In the NBA, the Celtics today toyed with the Knicks on their way to a 12-point convincing win at Boston Garden. Here's a look at some of this action now. Here's Larry Bird with the baseline pass to Kevin McHale. Puts it up off the glass for 2. Bird's big story of this game, of course, as usual for the Celts. He ended up with 38 points, hitting from all over the court. Take a look at this play now. Bird shoots from three-point range. The shot won't go, but watch the great hustle now as he gets the rebound and makes the tough shot for a pair. Now, Hubie Brown did what he could here, even calling a timeout on the court to get away from the Celtic crazies, but it wasn't enough. Bird continued to make some unbelievable shots. The Celts won the game 114-102. Meantime, out west, the Lakers got 39 points from Magic Johnson today in their overtime win against Portland. Well, I guess you could call it a dress rehearsal. The Mets and Cardinals, who will face each other in their season opener down at Shea on Tuesday, well, they met today in the final exhibition game of the Sunshine season down in St. Petersburg, and the Mets can only hope things go better on Tuesday than they did today. 5th inning, Utica's Andy Van Slyke bangs one off the wall and brings in Tito Landrum across the plate. The Cards go up 2-0, and then in the 6th inning, they get another when Jack Clark, one of the big guns in this year's Redbird arsenal, unloads. It's over the wall for a solo homer, and St. Louis wins the game 6-1. All right, in the USFL, everyone thought it would be bombs away today when Jim Kelly of the Houston Gamblers took on Doug Flutie and the Generals. But the game was won on the ground. Herschel Walker set a league record by rushing for 233 yards. He also scored a pair of touchdowns in the Generals' 31-25 win over the Gamblers. The Generals also turned this blocked punt into another touchdown. They're 4-3 now, while Houston loses its second in a row. At golf's Greater Greensboro Open, a second-year pro by the name of Joey Sindelar completely ignored the rain and the winds today. He shot a 3-under par 69 in the midst of all that and won the tourney. Isao Aoki and Craig Stadler finished tied for second. And finally tonight on the women's side, Alice Miller held off a hard-charging Jan Stevenson to win the Dinah Shore. That's the richest of the LPGA events. Miller finished things off in fine fashion, too, with a birdie here on 18. Great.
Let's clear up a discrepancy we had at 6 concerning Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Yeah.
I don't think that Magic is the better player.
Oh,
Larry Bird is the best I've ever seen.
Must be that Lawson guy spouting off in the back.
Someone. Well, you seem to insinuate it might be me. Quick, before the baseball season starts, we'll put you on the spot. Who do you like this year?
I like the Toronto Blue Jays all the way.
All the
Really,
way?
I'm serious.
Okay.
This is the year.
All right, I still like the Mets, even though they're favored. When we come back, Wham! Wows China. So stay with us. Actor David Soul and 3 other people have been released from a Pittsburgh jail. They were arrested earlier today on charges stemming from protests against layoffs in the steel industry. Well, rock has hit the country of China as dozens of uniformed police looked on. The British pop duo Wham! Played for 1.5 hours in Peking to 10,000 revved-up young Chinese. The audience, many of whom had never witnessed a rock concert before, was so boisterous that police warned them to remain in their seats or risk being kicked out. Well, finally tonight, a 72-year-old Wisconsin woman has mastered the unique art of Fabergé egg decorating. June Ulrich is the only person who can drill holes into an egg without breaking them. John Stolzit reports on the exquisite creations that are useful as well as beautiful.
How many of us could drill holes and cut into real eggshells without breaking them? June Ulrich of Rio is known as the Egg Lady. That's because she makes eggs into works of art. From goose, ostrich, duck, or countless other kinds of eggs, June has worked her Fabergé egg magic. This is what June did with 6 goose eggs and a hand-carved wood statue from Germany.
I've done it constantly. I can stick at it for about 16 hours a day. And I enjoy it, and I never run out of ideas.
June's toughest project so far was this eggshell version of an alpine waterfall.
It took me 6 months to figure out and find everything that I needed to make the waterfall egg. Kenneth has a cousin that got one of these raindrop lamps for Christmas. And they called me up right away and they said, come on up. They wanted me to see it. And they figured when I seen it, I would make an egg out of it.
You seem to make an egg out of just about everything you get a hold of.
I haven't been stumped yet. I'm an eggaholic.
John Stofflet for ABC News.
Did we ever find out what those eggs are used for? They said they were useful.
I have no idea.
Okay, Ed, thank you very much. That is our news tonight. For Ed, Greg, and the rest of the team, thanks for being with us. Secrets of Success is next. Have a good night.